This is Under Review, the show that talks about Colorado sports with a sprinkling of national sports stories as well. I'm Jordan Long. We all know that the University of Colorado has a job opening for their football program. They're looking for a new head coach to take over. Now, they have not only interviewed, but given a contract offer to Deion Primetime Sanders. Now, we know Deion Sanders as one of the best DBs, that is defensive backs, that ever played in the NFL. His career lasted from 1989 to 2000. He came back for the 2004 and 2005 season. He played for Atlanta, San Francisco, Dallas, Washington, and Baltimore. So again, Deion Sanders' career in the NFL lasted from 1989 to 2000, and he came back for 2004 and 2005. In that time, though, he won 2 Super Bowls and is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Great player, as you can see, he was one of the best since he is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But he is currently the head coach at Jackson State. There, he has gone an impressive 26-5 since Sanders, that is Deion Sanders, took the job on September 21st, 2020. This season, Jackson State is 11-0 so far this year. The Buffs job is open. They fired head coach Carl Durrell after an 0-5 start to the year. Now, it's no surprise why they got rid of Carl Durrell, because Carl Durrell was 8-15 in his time in Boulder. The University of Colorado ended at 1-11 this season. They were lucky to win one game. So, I mean, that is a step saying that, hey, we didn't go 0-12. We won one game. A lot of people thought they wouldn't even win a game, so it's a step in the right direction, even though that's one game. As for Sanders, I get the interest in Sanders. He seems to be a great coach who can turn around a program. It's a big-time name. If you look at the reports, though, there was a report from Sports Illustrated that said it's 95% a guarantee that Deion Sanders would be the next head coach of the CU Buffaloes. Now, I'm not going to take that report into consideration because I haven't heard it from Deion Sanders himself. Anyway, if you look at Deion Sanders, it's a big-time name. Deion Sanders said he would consider coaching a team that is in a Big Five conference. He also admitted this week that Colorado gave him an offer that he's considering. Well, if you look at CU, that is Colorado University, they are in a Big Five conference, the Pac-12. So it makes sense. So it makes sense from that standpoint. The question is, would Sanders be a great recruiter and help CU build a better program? A name like his helps, but success really comes down to recruiting. Now, the reports from the Denver Post said that big-time recruits in Colorado would consider going to CU if Deion Sanders is the next head coach. Hey, those are just reports. I don't know what is true. Anyway, if you look at the money, would CU be willing to pay him a large amount of money? They have the money, but would it be worth it for Sanders? Obviously, if he's considering the job, then it is a significant amount that he will say yes. Now, as for the offer, I'm not sure what it is. Let's just say Deion Sanders accepts the job and becomes the next CU football head coach. Hey, that's the best case scenario. Then again, though, the worst case is he would reject it and stay at Jackson State. If that is the case, Colorado would still be looking for a head coach for their head coaching void. No matter who the next coach is, they have to turn the program around. The University of Colorado has not had a winning season. That is not a winning season since 2020. I don't know if I want to count that season because it was a COVID-shortened season where the Pac-12 couldn't decide if they really wanted to play or play in the spring. Well, they ended up playing and they went 4-2, and that was actually under Carl Durrell, and they lost the Alamo Bowl. Before that, it was 2016 under Mike McIntyre, where they finished 10-4. Now, they lost the same bowl, the Alamo Bowl. So you look at the 2 bowls they went to since 2016, and it's been 2 bowls, the Alamo Bowl, where they lost. Now, the last time they won a bowl game, and this is a very, I mean, if you look at it, it's a name from the past who was actually on the radio for the CU Buffs, and that was Gary Barnett, which was in 2004 when they won their last bowl game. If Deion Sanders accepts the job, the goal is to win the Pac-12 conference. Of course, going to a bowl game and winning it would be a step in the right direction. Even if Sanders decides to stay at Jackson State, the Buffs will still need a coach to lead them. Either way, they need a coach to turn around the program. Let's just say Deion Sanders says no. Well, the coach that they are going to interview next would be Plan B, because Plan A was Deion Sanders. CU, though, is still in the Pac-12 conference, which is a Big Five conference. So from that standpoint, it could be attractive. Moving on to the Denver Nuggets. We are about a month into the NBA season, and the Nuggets are 14. That is 14-7, second in the Western Conference. I know it's early, but they are actually playing some great basketball. To be a successful team, you need winning streaks. So far, they have done that. Going into tonight's game against Atlanta, they are on a 4-game winning streak. So that helps. Of course, the team doesn't want to have that many losing streaks. Even if the Nuggets lose a game or two, they don't let that losing streak, go that far. They haven't had more than 2 losses in a row. That is really a sign of a good team. The thing is, though, and that's interesting about the Denver Nuggets, is every NBA team wants to play well at home. Well, for whatever reason, the NBA schedule hasn't been fair to the Denver Nuggets, because the Nuggets haven't had that many home games so far. They've only had 8. That is very few, and that means 13 road games. I don't understand why the NBA said, hey, Denver Nuggets, you don't get many home games to start the year. But even so, the Nuggets are 6-2 on home court, so they are protecting the home court. That is still pretty good and a winning record. That helps, but if you want to be a successful team, you have to play well on the road. Well, now the main way an NBA team becomes a playoff team is to have an above 500 record on the road, or even a little bit above. You want to be 500 or a little bit above. The teams that typically earn a top 4 seed in the NBA playoffs are the ones that can play well on the road. Well, the Nuggets have been great on the road so far. Their record is 8-5. So looking at the home and road records, that is the reason why the team is playing well. Hey, they're 14-7. Now you look at them as a team, the Nuggets are averaging 115.4 points per game. So 115.4 points per game, ranking 9th in the NBA. Nikola Jokic, we know, is the best center on the team. And in my case, I think he's the best center in the NBA. Some could argue that it's Joel Embiid. But anyway, Jokic doesn't have to be the only scorer on the team like he was last year. He leads the team with 22.7 points per game. He also grabs 9.8 rebounds per game and dishes out 8.9 assists per game. If you look at that, that is almost a triple-double. Of course, a triple-double is when you have 10 or more points, 10 or more rebounds, and 10 or more assists. So he's almost doing a triple-double each and every night. Now, he's getting his teammates involved, so it's not just him on the offense. That was not happening last year. Of course, Jamal Murray is finally healthy and is averaging 17.8 points per game. Aaron Gordon puts in 16.1 points per game. When healthy, Michael Porter Jr. can also help the offense with 16.4 points per game. Unfortunately, Michael Porter Jr. is not healthy as he's dealing with a heel injury, and hopefully he will be back soon. Now, if you look at the bench, they're getting bench points from Bones Highland. Highland is averaging 15 points per game. Basically, with all these players making shots, that has left Jokic to do what he does best. So Jokic is the best at going into the paint to rebound or dishing out an assist for his teammates to score. Sure, he can score, but the nice thing is, it's not on him this year. He can go to the basket, box out when there's a missed shot, and put it back in and find his teammates to score. The way the team is playing on offense, even though it's a month in, shows they are a team that could do something special in the playoffs. Hey, I'm not putting that pressure on them right now, but that's what I'm seeing from this team. Of course, I'm not going to put pressure on them saying, hey, we're going to be NBA champions right now. We're going to go to the Western Conference Finals. No, I'm not going to do that because it's way early. The thing is, though, if you look at their offense, the Nuggets are dangerous from the three-point line. You can't leave a shooter open on this team because they will make a three-point shot. Denver as a team makes the threes at 40.4%, second in the NBA. The only area that I want to see improved on offense is free throws. They don't take advantage of them, making 75.5% of them, 24th in the NBA. But hey, when you're scoring and you're having success, the free throw line is not that big of a deal, but it could be, especially in those tight games. Now, if you look at their defense, the Nuggets give up 113.1 points per game, 14th in the NBA, which isn't bad. But if you look at it, they are doing a great job at defending, but there are times they forget to switch. Hey, it's going to happen to every team where the opponents are passing the ball around and you would say switch and one guy doesn't switch and the guy is wide open. Who makes a shot? Even so, though, the Nuggets are still playing great basketball, even though that's early on. The thing is, though, again, it's still so early. The way they are playing, they're showing the West they are a top 4 team. I want them to be a top 2 team because then you get 2 rounds of the playoffs at home. But there is plenty of time left in the season since the Nuggets have only played 21 games and there are 61 games left to play. So still plenty of time. I still believe, though, this is a team that will be a top 4 team in the West. I'm hoping for a top 2 team in the West, but they want home court for at least 1 round. So the way they're playing, watch out the rest of the NBA for this team. Now we're going to move on, switching actually to the NFL. So we know that the NFL is heading into week 13. So many teams are still in the playoff picture for both the AFC and the NFC. Other teams are showing they are going to miss the postseason, while others are saying, hey, we're going to keep pace in the thick of the postseason race. 2 teams could earn a playoff spot this weekend. Those are the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the easier road is Minnesota. They are in position to win the NFC North Division. The Vikings are on top at 9-2, 9 wins and 2 losses. They have a chance to clinch the division. Basically, this is what they need to do. They need to win and have the Lions lose or tie, or they could clinch the division if they tie and the Lions lose or tie. Now, the Vikings are facing the New York Jets this weekend. The Lions are playing Jacksonville. Both winnable games for both the Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. Let's just say the Vikings win and the Lions end up with a loss and Minnesota wins the division. Really, if you look at the final games of the season, there are 5 left after this. They aren't going to be playing for really that much, and that's a scary thing because you want to be playing for something. It makes me wonder how focused the team would be then. That is the Minnesota Vikings. There have been teams in the NFL as well as Major League Baseball, NHL, and NBA. So if you look at the NFL, Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, and the NBA, who have earned a spot early, they look like they don't care the rest of the season, and it really hurts them in the playoffs. They take their foot off the gas, and they don't feel like there's much to play for, and it's really hard to get that focus once you reach the postseason. And they really are crushed because of the fact they aren't focused. So I'm hoping for the Vikings that doesn't happen. But for the Vikings, if they happen to earn a playoff spot, still they are playing for something. They are going to play for the number 2 seed, which would give you 2 home playoff games, or maybe 3, depending on what happens to the Philadelphia Eagles. But you still want to play your best football. Even so, the Vikings will be in the postseason and should still win the division, even if it isn't this week. It's all about, do the Vikings really want the number 1 seed? I don't think it matters all that much. The number 1 seed, you get a bye, but the number 2 seed, hey, you have 2 first-round playoff games at home. The wild card round and then the divisional round. If you move on, of course, there's the possibility you could host the NFC Championship game. If the Eagles fail, if the Eagles right now, who are the number 1 seed, fail, then maybe Minnesota, if they're the number 2 seed, could end up with home field advantage throughout. Either way, though, they are a threat if they keep playing well to actually go to the Super Bowl. Now, the other team that can earn a playoff spot is the Philadelphia Eagles. Theirs is much more complicated. The way they get in, here's the first way. The Eagles have to defeat the Tennessee Titans. Then they need Washington, San Francisco, and Seattle to lose. Another way they get in is if they win, Washington ties, San Francisco and Seattle either lose. Basically, they need both San Francisco and Seattle to lose their games. Either way, though, the Eagles, even if they don't clinch it this week, will be in the playoffs at some point. They have the league's best record at 10-1. I don't think the Eagles have to worry about not making the playoffs because they are going to be in the postseason. Of course, we will have to wait and see if the Eagles and the Vikings earn a playoff spot this week. The thing is, though, like I said, you don't want to clinch too early, thinking, hey, we can take our foot off the gas pedal. You still want to play with the mentality of we are still playing for something. So that's a little scary for both of these teams. But you know what? It's up to them to say, let's earn a playoff spot this week, and we will not allow the distractions of making a playoff spot hurt us, and let's just keep playing our best football. We know other teams will be joining them in the coming weeks. Now, once the playoffs actually start, I will go ahead and pick those games, and maybe I'll even have an NFL playoff preview. We will have to wait and see. But, of course, this is only the beginning if the Eagles and the Vikings make the playoffs. After that, we will have to wait and see. But even so, like I said, Minnesota and the Eagles cannot take the foot off the gas, even if they clinch a playoff spot, because you want to play your best football in, well, obviously December, but January as well, with the goal of making it to the Super Bowl and obviously winning it. But we will have to wait and see. But it's a great thing that these two teams can actually clinch a playoff spot. On to my NFL picks of the week. Last week, I was actually okay. I went 4-1. Overall this year, I am so great. I'm happy where I'm at. 40-20. 40 games right, 20 games wrong. We will start with Kansas City versus Cincinnati. Kansas City is a 2-point favorite. I look at Kansas City, and you know what you are going to get from them. Quarterback Patrick Mahomes is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He has a quick release, but what he does to buy time is run around the pocket, and he gets outside the pocket. And once he gets outside, he can run with his legs to gain yards. He is one of the best tight ends in the league in Travis Kelce. Cincinnati's defense has to find a way to stop Patrick Mahomes. Plus, have a spy on him so he can't use his legs effectively. It's really tough, but it's also doable. For Cincinnati on offense, the key, though, is they really need to establish the running game. Doing that will keep Kansas City's defense on the field and tire them out, especially if you're using it effectively and getting first downs. What they also have to do is control the clock with the running game as well. If you're controlling the clock, that will not allow, Patrick Mahomes and that offense back on the field. Also, Joe Burrow, their quarterback, has weapons in Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. Find them early and often if you are Joe Burrow. This game comes down to whether Cincinnati's offense can stay on the field and keep drives going. If they can, that will help their offense. But in the end, I don't think it'll matter because Kansas City wins the football game. The New York Jets versus the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota is a 3-point favorite. For the New York Jets, Mike White started last week at quarterback. He looked great finding his open receivers, and he had 3 touchdowns, but guess what? Didn't throw an interception. So you look at 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Great stat line. The question is, though, can he keep it going this week? He must find his open receivers early and often. If he can move the chains, that will be key. When the Jets drive into the red zone, score touchdowns. Do not settle for field goals. Looking at Minnesota, though, their offense is really a tough matchup for the Jets. They can pass the football with quarterback Kirk Cousins, who will look for Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen, who are one of the best duos in terms of wide receivers in the NFL. If you are the Jets, have coverage. If not, it could be a long day for your secondary. They also have to establish the running game. That is, the Minnesota Vikings have to establish the running game with Dalvin Cook. The Jets must shut all of these guys down, and I just don't see it. Minnesota gets the victory. Miami versus San Francisco. San Francisco is a 4-point favorite. I look at this game, and it's a battle of two pretty good offenses. Miami has a quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa. He is such a mobile quarterback that he can run with the football and pass it as well. If you are San Francisco, find a way to spy Tua Tagovailoa and force him to pass. Can't let Tua Tagovailoa go outside the pocket. If he does, that will mean he can run with the football. Also, Tua Tagovailoa has one of the fastest receivers in the game in Tyreek Hill. If you're San Francisco, force Tua Tagovailoa to throw it to somebody else. Looking at San Francisco, it starts with quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. He can read defense as well and find his open receivers. Miami has to find a way to stop him. Now, I look at this game as who can convert third downs. That is really the key, and that's who's going to win the football game, and that will be the 49ers. Tennessee versus Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a 4.5-point favorite. Both of these teams are similar. What do I mean by that? They want to establish the running game early and often. Philadelphia does also uses, Jalen Hurts as the main runner, but they will use others as well. So it's key for the 49ers to know, hey, Jalen Hurts may run it, but he will also use running backs as well. Tennessee uses Derrick Henry. For both teams' defenses, you have to stop the running game to be successful. If you do that, then both teams have to throw the football, but they can pass it as well. The Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, will look for A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Those guys will be key in the passing game. Tennessee, Ryan Tannehill, the key for him, though, is to be smart with the football. Do not have interceptions. He cannot turn it over. In the end, the Eagles win this football game. Washington versus the New York Giants. Washington is a 2.5-point favorite. You have to like a division rivalry game. Washington comes into this game on a 3-game winning streak. For the Giants, they have lost 2 in a row. For Washington, their quarterback is Tyler Heinicke, and he just needs time to throw the football, so the offensive line needs to give him that time to throw it. They can't allow Tyler Heinicke to get hit because those could be sacks or he could throw interceptions. For the Giants, though, they run the ball with Saquon Barkley. That will help take the pressure off of quarterback Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, though, when he has time, find an open receiver. Can't have turnovers. The Washington defense will look to bring pressure. When that happens, Jones should take the sack, which will avoid a turnover. This game will be tight, but I have Washington. My picks again: Kansas City versus Cincinnati, Kansas City. The New York Jets versus Minnesota, Minnesota. Miami versus San Francisco, San Francisco. Tennessee versus the Philadelphia Eagles, Philadelphia. Washington versus the New York Giants, I should say, not Jets. The New York Giants, Washington. I'm Jordan Long. This has been Under Review. Read my blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com. Check out all the shows we have on the Sideline Sports Network and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of them because we have shows every single day. This has been a Sideline Sports production.